This is Looking Forward for Physics 122 for Monday, the 2nd of February, 2015. As you get ready for class tomorrow, I'd like you to think about a couple things. First of all, I'd like you to bring on Monday any questions you have about electric fields, about Gauss's law, or about the homework that's due on Monday. We'll take some time at the beginning of class to try and nail down any loose ends we have about those three topics, with the potential that I might actually make your homework potentially due late Monday or early Tuesday if there are significant issues. The second thing, moving forward, is I would like you to read units 23.1, that's section 1 out of chapter 23, through 23.4, section 4 out of chapter 23. And I'd like you to think about the following things. Up until now, we've talked about forces. Those forces required us, or came from, electric fields. And therefore, we needed to calculate the electric fields to get the forces, and we need the forces to get the acceleration, in principle, and then finally the velocity, and we'd like to know the position of things. In other words, we want to know how things move, and so therefore we want to know something about the fields and forces that produce them. This is exactly what we did in Physics 121, but there's another method we could use instead. We can talk about the energy of objects instead. And from the energy, remember that energy is divided into potential energy, U, or we can also call it PE, and is divided into kinetic energy, K, or we can call it KE. Remember how kinetic energy and potential energy are related to the total energy in a system. Now, we know what kinetic energy is. What I want you to think about it is, what is potential energy? What does it physically mean? And how do you know you have some? Second of all, what would it look like in the case of gravity? And third of all, what should it look like in the case of electricity? Is there a potential energy due to electricity? And if there is, what type of form should it take on? The final thing I'd like you to think about is this idea that in Physics 121 we talked about force. Here, in Physics 122, we've talked about force per charge, which we call the electric field. Now, when we talk about potential energy, U, or PE, is there going to be an equivalent potential energy per charge? If so, what would that look like, and why would we define that? We'll talk about that and more when we get together on Monday. See you then.